For our first story, we have Mike, 28 male, husband, 27 male, just came out as straight. So we've been married for like 3 years and dated for about 2. In total, 5 years of a gay relationship. We're 2 men, have always been 2 men, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. My husband and I have had a rather healthy relationship for the most part. Of course we have minor arguments every now and then, but what relationship is perfect? In the end we always resolved them and our affection would continue as normal. This is kind of why I'm really confused by what's going on with us. Why now? I'm a Christian. I know a lot of people don't like the idea of that, but gay Christians do exist. My husband was agnostic, not necessarily an atheist, just wasn't completely on board with any religion. And that's fine, I would have supported him if he found peace in literally anything. He didn't need to become a Christian, and honestly, as selfish as this sounds, I wish he didn't. I know this makes me sound like a terrible person, but he changed so drastically afterwards and I miss the man he used to be. It was a slow start. He asked me about verses from the Bible, we went to church, he even fasted for Lent. Christmas this year was much more than just presents, and I was happy that I had this piece of me to share with him now. I was raised religious and struggled with my identity. If it weren't for other queer Christians, I would have left Christianity. I was glad that I still had these things we could bond over, but it kept ramping up. All of a sudden, he's going to church more than I am. Which is perfectly fine, is always carrying a Bible with him, and will randomly cite a verse when we're having political discussions. I've noticed his views have started to shift towards the right as well, and recently retweeted someone saying, "Your body, my choice. You're a twink, women's reproductive rights don't concern you in the slightest?" It kept ramping up. He started agreeing with the whole LGBT-T crowd, and started spewing harmful rhetoric about drag queens as if we aren't friends with a bunch of them. When I told him that drag queens are much less likely to harm children than some pastors, he lost his shit saying I was a heathen, and that his friends were right. This is the part that caught my attention. What friends? I asked him what he meant by that, and he started backtracking, saying he was tired and that we should go to bed. I was tired, and arguing didn't seem like it'd do us any good right now, so I put a pin in it and we got ready for bed. Our room has a bathroom connected, and usually we keep the door open. He takes a shower and makes sure to lock it, which was weird, but I didn't say anything about it. If he wants to set this boundary down, that's fine, but he could at least communicate it. YK. The next day is a Sunday, and he's already out of bed and I'm assuming at church. I get up and got ready, but once I arrived I realized he wasn't there. That confused me, so after the service I called him asking him where he was. He tells me he's in church, but I told him I was here too and didn't see him. He clarifies he means this the other, I'm not going to say the denomination because I don't want to cause any arguments, church. This was news to me, especially because he never brought it up and still carried our Bible. I told him to send me the address and I'll pick him up so we can get brunch, but he tells me that he doesn't want his friends seeing me. That hurt. I asked him if we could at least meet up and he said he'll see me at home. After a few hours, he finally comes home. He says we need to talk, I agreed. I wanted to ask him why he didn't want his friends seeing me, and as I opened my mouth to ask the question he said, "I'm straight." I stared at him for a bit, and he continued, explaining that his church helped him realize he wasn't going to see the kingdom of God if he continued living in sin and that he needed to leave me as soon as possible. He told them about the pastor comment I made last night, and they said that I was a devil trying to lure him away from Christ. He started repeating a lot of the same rhetoric I heard from other Christians growing up, and it really upset me. He even said that I could be saved, and that I already had the traditionally masculine look, and that I just needed to steer away from homosexuality. I feel like I'm in an alternate reality right now. I'm being told by the love of my life that I'm a devil that needs to return to Christ because I shut down his homophobic rhetoric. My gay husband is being homophobic. I'm sorry, but not once in the 5 years we've been together did he realize he was suddenly straight. It just doesn't work like that. It's not like we're in some other universe where comfomo is a thing, right? I told him that he needed to leave and that we could discuss arrangements afterwards. I still want him, I love him. But I have no idea how he could look at me with a straight face and tell me all of that. He started arguing saying that he didn't want to leave and that we could be friends, so I told him that I wouldn't be friends with a self-hating queer for the life of me. He packed a bag and left. His location shows he's at some random house I've never been to, but I assume that's one of the churchgoers he's friends with. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do from here. Did I seriously just lose my husband? I don't understand how this could happen. What can I do now? I miss him already. That's the end of our first post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, "Dude, the best thing you can do is let him go. This is a really tough situation, but it's past your control. Do yourself a favor and let him leave. He's not worth it. You deserve somebody who loves you for you." Our second commenter says, "Run, he's doing conversion therapy and you do not want to be on that journey. W him." Our third commenter says, "Just wait till he starts banging one of his new dude friends, things will unravel pretty quick. You just keep being who you are and true to what you believe. People do change, for the better, for the worse. Sometimes there are reasons, other times not. Just remember who you are and mourn the loss when it gets to that point. You will survive this and be better for it." For our second story, we have Mike, 27 male, wife, 28 female, returned from a work retreat with a hickey. She swears it's a bug bite, but I am not convinced. I am at loss. How do I move forward? I'm 27 male, in a fight with my wife, 28 female. We've had fights before but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts married for almost 6 years. We have a daughter, 4F. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We've faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job has annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule and tag along with her, and we make our own trip out of it. We couldn't this year. Our daughter gets major anxiety traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles. So I stood behind and held down the fort at home. The change of plans was a bummer because the trip was part of us reconnecting as both a couple and as a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work-life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertained the idea of her skipping the retreat. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't, and my wife's making connections in her field. She grew increasingly weird. We have a system if either of us is away for extended periods. We keep in contact. For the first day or so, she was herself, but she grew distant. I'd even text her about important stuff and be left on read while she claimed she never saw my text. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or our daughter off the phone. These were all times she wasn't involved in retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited. It was something my wife promised her because the retreat overlapped her actual birthday. But my wife backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It was like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't offering that nor making her keep her word. She said I wasn't being fair, and this was a networking opportunity. They were business-oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I said her decision is her decision, but she'd have to explain it to our daughter. She promised her that she'd rain check the following day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. That whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. She was documenting the retreat on social media. One coworker, 23 male, was almost in every pic, video attached to her hip. In one pic he had his arm too comfortably around her emo. He's a recent hire in my wife's department. She was asked to oversee him. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texted my wife that she's exactly the kind of woman he needs to keep him in check. My wife had brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in. She took him under her wing during his first retreat with the team. If I'd questioned, she'd say she was tired or networking. There was always something. But I've seen her at these retreats. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before her return home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She stressed it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home. I instantly thought it was a full-on hickey. She kinda brushed it off after making a big deal of it over the phone. I didn't push because our daughter was present. But when I was able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite claim. When I kept pushing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright said I believed she had a hickey, and I didn't believe she was being honest with me. We had it out then. She was offended and pissed at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic. Her family has a history of infidelity. So we had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of looking to pick a fight due to the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her it had nothing to do with that and everything to do with a hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We're still not recovered. She swears it's a bug bite. But I'm not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I never doubted her, but this bruise doesn't look like a bug bite. It looks like a hickey. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the Vegas retreat. Now she's wearing turtlenecks ever since, and we're caught between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. Communication usually prevails for us, but not now. I think my accusation pushed us to a new level of argument. I'm at a loss here. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? TLDR, my wife returned from a work retreat in Vegas with a hickey on her neck. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the retreat. We're stuck between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. I'm at a loss. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? That's the end of our second post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, I have been to Vegas and never saw a single bug. It is like dry as fuck, desert-like. Not saying they aren't there, but it's not like she was in the Mayan Riviera. This is all super sus. Don't let her gaslight you. She clearly got a hickey, which is dumb as fuck in itself. Probably from the idiot who is too inexperienced to know what he was doing, and preemptively came up with an excuse knowing what it would look like. Out of character behavior. Neglecting her daughter. New young guy hanging off her. That is in photos she knew you could end up seeing. What about what you couldn't see? Eyebrow-raising texts. Our second commenter says, something fishy here for sure. I couldn't imagine bailing on my daughter's birthday for networking. Then the hickey and the preemptive explanation that it wasn't one. I don't know, something doesn't add up here. Our third commenter says, I was just in Vegas for work last week. It was cold when we were there. No bugs anywhere, much less something that would leave a mark like that just on her neck. At the very least, you need to work through her distance at the retreat. I couldn't move forward without significant transparency with her phone. If she refuses, it's a big red flag. For our last story, we have update. Mike, female 19, boyfriends, male 26, brother, male 32, is getting creepy and my boyfriend won't stop him. How do I get comfortable with dating again? Here is the link to my original post. So I'm not sure if anyone cares since it's been a year, but I just wanted to write an update. So I'm now 20. I told my aunt about how my boyfriend and his brother were behaving, and boy did she go mama bear mode, but rightfully so. She ended up getting me to join some women's support groups. My now ex-boyfriend did go ballistic when I broke up with him. He showed up on campus and yelled at me, saying I was an ungrateful bitch, and that all I was good for was being an easy piece of ass. He did get removed from campus grounds for starting a scene, but it was just embarrassing. People heard and saw it and I didn't know how to react until someone stepped in. I haven't dated since the last situation with my creepy boyfriend. Maybe I'm just a bit paranoid of it happening again. I've learned a lot about healthy relationships from the support groups, but I just worry that I'll find myself on the bad end of another relationship. Recently, a classmate of mine asked me out and he's a really nice guy. Also, this time no huge age gap. We study together and occasionally hang out. He's been pretty helpful whenever I don't understand something. I did reject going out with him. I told him I wasn't ready to start dating again yet, and he respected that and hasn't made any moves on me or anything. But I also thought my last boyfriend was nice, and he turned out to be a low-key predator. I don't want to be paranoid and fearful of dating, but I also don't want to accidentally put myself in another situation. How do I handle this? That's the end of our last post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, if possible, get therapy to help you deal with the trauma. Unfortunately, no one can ever guarantee you a non-toxic relationship. But the fact that the guy asking you out respected your no is a great sign that he might be a good guy. That don't mean you should start date him, but if you ask him for a date as friends and talk about why, it could help you with your hesitation. But most important, don't rush to date. You are 20, you have a lot of time to date later. Our second commenter says, so you're not that older than my daughter, so I'll talk to you like I talk to her. If you had a near drowning incident, the solution isn't to try to never be around water again because that limits your life choices. The best solution is to teach yourself how to swim. First in controlled environments and then slowly more and more increasingly challenging situations. As your confidence and skill level increases, shallow pool versus full-size pool. Swimming pool versus open ocean, etc. So you slowly increase the level of difficulty, if you will. This young man sounds like the perfect opportunity to practice evaluating for red flags, establishing safe boundaries and beginning to understand your personal comfort level. Call him up or text him and explain that you had a very embarrassing and hurtful situation a year ago, so you're gun shy and you're sorry for dismissing him out of hand. Ask if he'd be willing to go on an outing with you, understanding that you will be nervous. He'll probably say yes. If he does, great. Now think about what would be safe and reasonable. For example, lunch in a public diner where you both drive yourselves is safer than a bonfire party in the woods in the middle of nowhere and he's your only way home, right? What elements make it safer? 1. General public venue with an expectation of good behavior versus somewhere everyone is on his side, only his family members, or there aren't other people around. Bonus points if it's somewhere you've been before and they might recognize you or someone you know works there. 2. Daytime versus nighttime. Again sets an expectation for behavior. 3. Limited time frame. You know when lunch is over you'll need to get back to class, go back to work, have a study group, what have you. There's no open-ended was to it. It's a shallow end kind of date versus a deep end ocean kind of date. 4. If you want to pay for your own meal, express that ahead of time in a text. This can even more lessen any obligation you feel towards anything physical or feeling of reciprocity you aren't ready for yet. See what I mean? Instead of thinking, nope, never touching water again, think shallow end instead of deep end with sharks. Feel free to DM me if you want more mom of 4 teenager perspective, sweetie, hugs. Closing parenthesis. Our third commenter says, stick to men your own age. It's not so surprising that a guy pushing 30 who pursues teens would turn out to be a weirdo dirtbag. That's all for today. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.